I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the...
Moving from one rental home to another is so expensive.
Last time, we had to pay hundreds to move in, the first month's rent,
and then a big deposit.
With Romans, it doesn't have to be like this.
It doesn't.
At Romans, you really can move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent.
And that's it.
Nothing more to add. Move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent. With Romans.
No deposit.
No problem.
Romans, your trusted local property experts at romans.co.uk. Conditions and monthly fee apply.
The new Vauxhall Combo Cargo delivers. For the heavy lifters with its payload of up to a tonne. For the fuel savers with its highly efficient engines. And it delivers awards, including International Van of the Year 2019. New Combo Cargo carries British business. From 168 a month with 6 years 0% APR. Vauxhall. British brand since 1903. Conditional sale. Minimum 18% deposit plus VAT at 20% on total price. Financed by Vauxhall Finance subject to status. 18 plus. Small business users only. T's and C's apply. Search combo offer.
Live big and spend less on the brands you adore. And dine by the waterside. Who could want more? Lap up the savings as much as the view. With Ted Baker, Hackett, Nike and Coach too. Lock Fine and Five Guys make it a date. You can shop, meet and eat every weekday till late. So sit back, unwind, and let style lead the way. And give yourself a different day at Gunwharf Quays. Waterfront outlet shopping.
Did you know Currys PC World do business? Saving your business up to 30% with mega deals. On computers and printers, electricals, large screen TVs, and even more. Top brands like HP, Microsoft, Epson, Sony. And if you find it cheaper from any major retailer, we'll match it. Get these deals before they're gone. Must end soon. Visit your nearest store or pcworldbusiness.co.uk/megadeals. T's and C's apply. Excludes Inc. and third-party sellers. Visit website for price promise details. Claim within 7 days.
Strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things and strings, strings, strings and things. Strings, strings, strings and things. Strings, strings, strings and things. Strings and
Now there's a whole range of strings and things called strings and things, including cheese strings, yollies, and new cheese shapes. Find them all in the cheese and yogurt aisle.
strings and things.
Dad, I'm bored.
Why don't you go and start your holiday homework?
Don't worry, we've teamed up with Disney to bring you loads of exciting activities to keep the kids entertained this summer without even having to leave London. Snuggle up indoors. And go create a cereal box jetpack like Buzz Lightyear's or set up a home obstacle course. Look online for Asda Tour de Fun for even more exciting activity ideas. Go discover your fun side with Asda.
Rally set to roll on, but what exactly is behind the sudden resurgence? Do you want to make money? The not-so-sexy bond market has been making some investors serious coin. We'll show you some of the red-hot ways people are profiting. Meantime, the clock is ticking. New rounds of U.S. and Chinese tariffs set to take effect on Sunday. All this as tension in Hong Kong rising with a big story and development overnight. Florida preparing for the worst. Hurricane Dorian getting stronger and headed for the coast. And the chicken wars raging on, as Popeyes may have to go to court because some guy got stiffed over a sandwich. It's a real story, and it's all happening on this Friday, August 30th, as Worldwide Exchange, a free-range show, begins right now. Good evening and welcome from wherever in the world that you may be watching. I am Brian Sullivan. Stock futures, they are higher. We're going to show that to you in a second. But look at this. If you are keeping score at home, these are your 3 top performing sectors for the month of August. It is the final trading day after all. These are also the only 3 that are set to end the month in the green. I mean, unless we get a super rally today, which, hey, we could. Dow futures, they're up right now. Utilities, real estate, and even consumer staples. The worst performers, I mean, every month, right? It's energy. Energy, again, it's had a good run this week, but it had a terrible run at the beginning of the month. And energy, financials, and materials look like they will end the month lower. Although, yeah, I mean, I guess we could get a 3.5-point run, but probably not. Well, as we get ready for the final day of August, trading day of August, let's see if this mini rally that we're in can hold. All major indexes now up 3 of the last 4 sessions, and now we're actually on pace for our best week since June. Stock futures right now up a nice 145, S&P and Dow, or a NASDAQ also higher. Bond yields, though, that has been the story the last couple of months, of course. They do remain low, the 10-year at 152, and yes, we are still inverted by, again, 1 basis point between the 2 and the 10s. I think we're going to have to go to the books. When and if this reverses, is it a de-inversion? An uninversion? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to find out. Let's go worldwide now. As a matter of fact, in Asia, Japan, a bunch of economic data there. We got a string of economic data points overnight. July retail sales, they fell 2%, far weaker than expected. It's actually the first drop for retail sales in Japan since 2017. On the flip side, industrial production in July coming better than expected. The markets focusing on that, the Nikkei rising just over 1%. And in the European markets, remember, they are open on Monday. They don't have a holiday there. We are seeing gains. The German DAX is up 1%. All the markets are in the green on this Friday morning. In the meantime, some dramatic new developments overnight in Hong Kong as key demonstrations have been banned by the government for the weekend, and several important figures in the movement have been arrested. NBC's Chris Livesay is live on the scene in Hong Kong with more on this developing story. Chris.
Yeah, that's right, Brian. Hong Kong has been shaken by violence, and now authorities here are responding by arresting several key figures in the protest movement and banning a very highly anticipated protest scheduled here over the weekend. Now, that comes after an escalation in violence that we witnessed at the previous round of protests, when we saw protesters hurling bricks and even Molotov cocktails at police. For their part, police have taken to using a water cannon, to firing a warning shot in the air, and even pointing their weapons directly at protesters. Now, this is something that is simply unheard of in Hong Kong, a city that prides itself on stability. In fact, it's unheard of across all of China. The last time China witnessed a challenge of this nature to its authority was in 1989, and that was during the Tiananmen Square protests. It's a very ominous portent considering how those protests ended in bloodshed. And now the question on everyone's mind is, how will these protests end? When will Beijing decide that enough is enough? And will they end things peacefully or otherwise?
Yeah, Chris, I mean, it's a situation where we don't know which way it's going to go with the arrest of these key figures. Is there any indication that some of the protesters are going to go ahead and march? They are going to go ahead and meet despite the fact that the government effectively has said, you can't.
The protesters that we've spoken to have said they couldn't stop the protesters that they know from going out if they wanted to. Now, you've seen the images that sometimes more than 1 million protesters taking to the street. This is a largely leaderless movement. In fact, the police are preparing for them to turn out regardless, and they said that they will respond with proportionate force. The question is, what exactly constitutes violence in the eyes of police? In their words, that could be as much as occupying a street or blocking traffic, because in order to do that, sometimes protesters have vandalized those areas in order to make makeshift barricades. So police have told us that they are preparing for more violence, and protesters are telling us the same.
Yeah, and I know the police, they're also gathering up at the airport once again. They are concerned that people may try to go in. Chris Livesay in Hong Kong. Chris, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, now let's get back to the financial markets. That's probably why you're here. And let's help you make some money and find some new ideas, shall we? By now, you know that interest rates have collapsed. You may have heard that on this network. But as rates go down, it means bond prices have gone up. They are inversely related. And a lot of so-called boring investments have been pretty doggone hot lately. Look at the returns on these common bond-based ETFs. Keep in mind, these are just August returns. The ProShares Ultra 20-plus year Treasury, ticker UBT, up 25% this month. The PIMCO 25-plus year zero coupon U.S. Treasury ETF, up 20%. A Vanguard ETF, the EDV, the very widely owned TLT, and the SPDR long-term Treasury ETF, the TLO, I feel like these are 1970s bands, are all up more than 10%. And if you were one of the few who saw this coming and you had the confidence and the mojo to triple down on bonds, the direction 3 times bond bull ETF is up 38% just this month. These are literally ETFs, with the exception of the TLT, that I'm not sure we have ever mentioned on this show before, but they have been red hot. Let's talk more now about these markets. Joining us to discuss it, Bill Zox, Chief Investment Officer of Fixed Income at Diamond Hill Capital Management. Bill, I mean, were you one of the few, I guess, that was able to spot these moves and buy some of these ETFs, which I think it's fair to say were fairly heretofore unknown?
No, that's not what we do, but everything in bonds, if you look back over the last year, everything has been fantastic for bonds. But looking forward, I think it's much more about preserving capital in all financial assets rather than making a ton of money.
So you think it's the preservation of capital, not necessarily the return on capital. So what do we do?
Well, I think we're clearly late cycle, and you want to stick to your late cycle playbook, which means stay away from the most aggressively financed investments, but also be careful to not overpay for quality. I think that's a real danger right now.
What is quality to you right now, Bill?
Well, I'm involved in the high yield bond market, and the double B space is where investors traditionally go to move up in quality, but the double B space is very expensive right now.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I showed these ETFs ahead of you, because you are a credit guy. I know that you're more in the high yield space, but if your edict is to find high yield investments, but you're saying they are basically overpriced or a little risky, what are you doing?
Well, there are some reasonable ideas out there, and we're concentrating in those reasonable ideas. I mean, right now, what you don't own is probably more important than what you do own. And we're sticking with our top 10 ideas much more than our 90th. We're fairly concentrated. We aren't invested at all in our 90th best idea. We're focused on our top 10.
Can we read between the lines and suggest perhaps, Bill, that cash is not a horrible place to be right now?
Cash is not trash right now. I absolutely agree with that. It gives you great optionality if assets reprice, which I expect they will.
Do you expect this, there's sort of this view in the equity market. I know you're a credit guy, but in the equity, I know you guys talk about equities, I'm sure too, which is at some point you're going to see a re-rotation out of bonds back into stocks, because bonds, many of them, as we just showed, may be a little too hot.
Well, I think that will be the case at some point, but I think we need to have dramatically different trade policies to get there. I think that as long as tariffs are escalating rather than being walked back, it's going to be difficult for risk assets.
So what happens to both the bond and the macro markets if and when, Bill, and it's a big if, I guess, we do get some kind of a resolution to the trade deal? What then?
Well, I think that would be very beneficial to risk assets, and it would cause the yield curve to steepen and move higher. So it would be difficult for high-grade bonds.
Bill Zox of Diamond Hill out there in Columbus, where Ohio State kicking off their season, another year at the top, I'm assuming. Bill, thanks for joining us very much. We appreciate it. We'll see you soon. Have a good Labor Day weekend.
You too. Thanks.
All right, now let's move back to stocks and tracking another top stock that is mentioned all the time in the trade war, and that is Tesla. Tesla forced to make some big changes as China's currency continues to fall against the dollar. Mr. Frank Holland joining us now at the Tesla story. Frank, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Brian. Well, Tesla is hiking prices on some vehicles in China, including the Model X and the long-range version of the Model 3, by more than 2%. Reuters says the move comes as the yuan is trading at its lowest level in more than a decade. Tesla has adjusted prices in China several times this year in response to the U.S.-China trade war. The company currently imports all the cars it sells in China. Earlier this month, Beijing allowed the yuan to weaken against the dollar, increasing import prices. That prompted the Trump administration to label China as a currency manipulator. Tesla is building its first overseas factory in Shanghai, which is scheduled to start production later on this year. The company expects to initially be able to build about 3,000 Model 3s a week. So Tesla does not disclose sales by country, but it's estimated it sold more than 23,000 cars in China through July. Back over to you.
All right, Frank, thank you very much. When we come back, the real world tariff impact, why one small business index is tanking and companies of all sizes are growing more concerned. Plus, there's good, there's bad, and there's just plain ugly. Ulta Beauty slashing its outlook. Shares really in need of a makeover. This morning got your stocks to watch coming up. That stock down 25% right now. And the interest rate impact on home buying. Will this sort of rate route help the housing market? A lot more still to do. 5:12 on a Friday morning, and we're back after this.
Hemorrhoids. You talk to your GP, but you don't really get anywhere because the NHS has limited surgery for hemorrhoids, so you go on suffering in silence. Okay, maybe not so silent. It's time to speak to Xroid. They specialise in a new, fast, safe and effective procedure for hemorrhoids with no downtime, and the procedure takes just 30 minutes or less. Don't be one of the 8 million people in the UK suffering in almost silence. Get back to what you love doing. Xroid. Be kind to your behind. For free advice on hemorrhoids, text KIND to 81156.
The new Vauxhall Combo Cargo delivers. For the heavy lifters with its payload of up to a ton. For the fuel savers with its highly efficient engines. And it delivers awards, including International Van of the Year 2019. New Combo Cargo. Carries British business. From 168 a month with 6 years 0% APR. Vauxhall. British brand since 1903. Conditional sale. Minimum 18% deposit plus VAT at 20% on total price. Financed by Vauxhall Finance subject to status. 18 plus. Small business users only. T's and C's apply. Search Combo Offer.
Live big and spend less on the brands you adore. And dine by the waterside. Who could want more? Lap up the savings as much as the view. With Ted Baker, Hackett, Nike and Coach too. Lock Fine and Five Guys make it a date. You can shop, meet and eat every weekday till late. So sit back, unwind, and let style lead the way. And give yourself a different day at Gunwharf Quays. Waterfront outlet shopping.
Strength and things. Strength and things. Strength and things. Strings and things. Strings and things and strings, strings, strings and things. Strings, strings, strings and things. Strings, strings, strings and things. Strings and
Now there's a whole range of strings and things called strings and things, including cheese strings, yollies, and new cheese shapes. Find them all in the cheese and yogurt aisle.
strings and things.
Dad, I'm bored.
Why don't you help me water the garden?
Don't worry, this summer we've got loads of exciting activities to keep the kids entertained. How about you go explore the Rainham Marshes and play bushwalk bingo on the way?
Yay!
Look online for Asda Tour de Fun to find amazing walks here in London, from art trails to long distance. All powered by Sustrans, a registered UK charity. Go discover your fun side with Asda.
All right, if the music didn't give it away, it's time for our stocks to watch, which, as that beautiful graphic says, maybe it is the good, the bad, and the ugly today. And let us start with the good, because it's Friday, right? We want to feel good going into a long weekend. Dell's second quarter results beating forecasts on higher demand for desktop computers. Company is seeing lower demand across many industries in China amid the trade war, but that is offset by focusing on higher margin deals in the country as well. I'm sure Fortnite is helping. Everybody needs processing power. The bad is Marvell Technologies. No, not the movie thing, the semiconductor company. Second quarter profit and revenue topping estimates on strong sales of networked equipment, but it sees third quarter revenue falling below forecasts as the U.S. ban on selling parts to Huawei has hurt the chipmaker. Marvell is down just under 7%. And this is certainly ugly for its investors. Ulta Beauty, one of the hottest stocks of the last decade, is down 25% right now after second quarter results whiffed on forecast. The cosmetics retailer also cutting its profit outlook, and it warns that sales will slow this year. Ulta citing a drop in sales of color cosmetics, which account for half of its annual sales, as shoppers spend more on things like skincare and other products. Ulta Beauty certainly is the disaster du jour. All right, still on deck here on Worldwide Exchange, recession fears. More like recession certainty if these two things hold true. That's your next guest argument. We'll tell you what those two things are. Plus, a live report from Florida as they brace for what could be the worst storm in 30 years. Easily the strongest of the season so far. Dorian is serious. And we've got the latest right after this.
There's golf. And there's the golf.
Moving from one rental home to another is so expensive.
Last time, we had to pay hundreds to move in, the first month's rent,
and then a big deposit.
With Romans, it doesn't have to be like this.
It doesn't.
At Romans, you really can move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent.
And that's it.
Nothing more to add. Move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent. With Romans.
No deposit.
No problem.
Romans, your trusted local property experts at romans.co.uk. Conditions and monthly fee apply.
There are certain things in life we simply don't talk about. And hemorrhoids are, right up there, so to speak. But we should, because there's 8 million people in the UK right now suffering with piles. If you're one of them like I was, you should speak to Xroid. They're the Harley Street specialists in hemorrhoid treatment. It's a new, fast, gentle, safe and effective procedure for hemorrhoids, with no downtime, and the procedure takes just 30 minutes or less. Consultation and treatment starts from $9.95. Xroid, be kind to your behind. For free advice on hemorrhoids, text KIND to 81156.
The new Vauxhall Combo Cargo delivers. For the heavy lifters with its payload of up to a ton. For the fuel savers with its highly efficient engines. And it delivers awards, including International Van of the Year 2019. New Combo Cargo. Carries British business. From 168 a month with 6 years 0% APR. Vauxhall. British brand since 1903. Conditional sale. Minimum 18% deposit plus VAT at 20% on total price. Financed by Vauxhall Finance subject to status. 18 plus. Small business users only. T's and C's apply. Search Combo Offer.
Live big and spend less on the brands you adore. And dine by the waterside. Who could want more? Lap up the savings as much as the view. With Ted Baker, Hackett, Nike and Coach too. Lock Fine and Five Guys make it a date. You can shop, meet and eat every weekday till late. So sit back, unwind, and let style lead the way. And give yourself a different day at Gunwharf Keys. Waterfront Outlet Shopping.
All right, welcome back. I know many of you are watching, no doubt, from Florida. And as you know, every county in your state is under a state of emergency right now, as you have to prepare for what may be the strongest hurricane to hit Florida in nearly 30 years. NBC's Jay Gray joining us now from Cocoa Beach, Florida, with the very latest. Jay.
Hey, good morning, Brian. Conditions here calm right now. Officials and first responders urging residents to use this downtime to get ready. Make sure they are prepared as conditions are going to take a dramatic turn for the worse starting this weekend. We've seen people lining up outside of food stores, outside of gas stations, home improvement stores, making sure they have the supplies, the food, the water, the medicines necessary to sustain them. Officials saying for 7 days or more that they think this storm is going to patch quite a punch as it makes landfall. We know what it is, a major hurricane. We know why, because it's being fueled by those warm waters in the Atlantic. What we don't know at this point is when and where. The entire forecast cone swallowing the peninsula of Florida. And right now, every really county in this state is under an emergency order. We just don't know where this storm is going to go. Brian, it's been very unpredictable. What we do know is that folks need to be ready right now, and we'll see some evacuation orders as this thing gets closer to the shoreline. But those officials don't want people to wait. They want people packing up now and prepared to move as soon as we get a clearer picture of what this storm's going to do.
Jay, what exactly is the timeline of Dorian and the expected path? We showed a graphic as we were coming into you, and we showed it sort of hitting kind of where you are and then maybe taking a turn to the northwest, sort of toward the Tampa area. What is the timeline?
Yeah, that's the thing. It looks like at this point, most of the models converging that it's going to hit somewhere near this area of the state and then make that northward jog. It looks like right now, we just got the latest from the National Hurricane Center, that will be sometime late Monday evening into early Tuesday morning. So it'll be overnight, a time when people shouldn't be out getting anything done at that point. They need to be where they're going to be.
So it's very, very clear this storm could impact Florida, not just over the weekend when it starts to come in, but through the beginning and maybe even midweek. It looks like it's a very slow-moving monster.
Yeah, that's the concern. This thing's going to slow down, especially once it makes landfall, and it's going to continue to pound this area with water. Flooding's going to be a major area. It's a time right now along the coast where we're dealing with king tide. That's the biggest disparity between high and low tides, about 4 feet. So that's going to contribute to the storm surge as well. It's going to be a mess for quite some time. In fact, a day in, once this thing makes landfall, the Hurricane Center still says that it will be a Category 1 hurricane.
Wow, that is a big one. Jay Gray, a little calm there, we know, but it's going to ramp up. Listen, don't be a hero. Just be safe out there. We're glad you're there, but you and the crew be safe. Jay Gray, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is a big storm. All right, coming up. Well, August has been anything but quiet for the bond market. The yield on the 30-year seeing its biggest drop since the Euro debt crisis in 2011. More on what that means for your money, stocks, the bond market, where it all goes from here. And your big number of the day is $2.57. This is the average price that you're going to pay at the gas pump when you hit the road this weekend. According to AAA, it's down a quarter from last year. By the way, it's actually the cheapest that gas has been nationwide on Labor Day in 3 years, in part due to the recent slump in oil prices. Crude oil down nearly 4% this month, so a little break at the pump. We're back with more Worldwide Exchange right after this.
So, how are you feeling? Moving from one rental home to another is so expensive.
Last time, we had to pay hundreds to move in, the first month's rent,
and then a big deposit.
With Romans, it doesn't have to be like this.
It doesn't.
At Romans, you really can move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent.
And that's it.
Nothing more to add. Move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent. With Romans.
No deposit.
No problem.
Romans, your trusted local property experts at romans.co.uk. Conditions and monthly fee apply.
There are certain things in life we simply don't talk about. And hemorrhoids are, right up there, so to speak. But we should, because there's 8 million people in the UK right now suffering with piles. If you're one of them like I was, you should speak to Xroid. They're the Harley Street specialists in hemorrhoid treatment. It's a new, fast, gentle, safe and effective procedure for hemorrhoids, with no downtime, and the procedure takes just 30 minutes or less. Consultation and treatment starts from $9.95. Xroid, be kind to your behind. For free advice on hemorrhoids, text KIND to 81156.
The new Vauxhall Combo Cargo delivers. For the heavy lifters with its payload of up to a ton. For the fuel savers with its highly efficient engines. And it delivers awards, including International Van of the Year 2019. New Combo Cargo. Carries British business. From 168 a month with 6 years 0% APR. Vauxhall. British brand since 1903. Conditional sale. Minimum 18% deposit plus VAT at 20% on total price. Financed by Vauxhall Finance subject to status. 18 plus. Small business users only. T's and C's apply. Search Combo Offer.
Live big and spend less on the brands you adore. And dine by the waterside. Who could want more? Lap up the savings as much as the view. With Ted Baker, Hackett, Nike and Coach too. Lock Fine and Five Guys make it a date. You can shop, meet and eat every weekday till late. So sit back, unwind, and let style lead the way. And give yourself a different day at Gunwharf Keys. Waterfront Outlet Shopping.
All right, welcome back. Stock futures, they are looking good right now, up about 150 points. There are some stocks that you need to watch. Certainly, they are all in the face of the trade war storm. In commodities, oil, it's had a weak month, down 4%, but kind of hot. Little comeback for oil this week, maybe helping the overall markets. We're down 1% right now, but up from where we were to begin the weekend. And just keep in mind, those new 15% additional tariffs, they go into effect on billions of dollars of new products. There is a lot more still to do on Worldwide Exchange. Dow futures up 162. We're back right after this.
I'm home. Hi, Mum. Wow, what's that?
Saltwater supercars from Shell. Toy cars that run on salt water.
Science-fueled family fun. Fill up with £30 or more and you'll qualify to buy a car from just $3.99.
Track ready.
Check.
Saltwater ready.
Check.
Go!
Fill up on fun with saltwater supercars at Shell. Participating sites, conditions apply. See shell.co.uk/saltwater supercars for details.
Strength and things. Strength and things. Strength and things. Strength and things. Strings and things and strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things.
Now there's a whole range of strings and things called strings and things, including cheese strings, yollies, and new cheese shapes. Find them all in the cheese and yogurt aisle.
Strings and things.
Dad, I'm bored.
Why don't you help me sort the recycling?
Don't worry, this summer we've got loads of exciting activities to keep the kids entertained. How about you go explore the Tottenham Hale to Victoria cycle route and have a bug hunt on the way? Look online for Asda Tour de Fun to find amazing walks here in London, from traffic-free to coastal, all powered by Sustrans, a registered UK charity. Go discover your fun side with Asda.
Chloe, is that you? Still lugging that old laptop round your lectures?
No, my name's not Chloe, it's Claire. No,
No
Clarissa.
one wants to be seen with an old laptop at uni. Ask Curry's PC World about a new one, like the stylish HP Envy with its light-in design. Only $749. Plus, save £100 more when you trade in your old qualifying laptop.
Nice new laptop, Chloe. Thanks. It's Chloe, like the goddess.
Save with instant trade-in at Curry's PC World. In-store only. See website for laptop trade-in qualifying criteria and evaluation.
First world problem number 346.
Well, you know, people might think I'm exaggerating, but since Virgin Atlantic announced their sale, I can't sleep. One minute my head is in New York, the next I'm searching for shows in Vegas. I can't stop. So many choices. South Africa, the Caribbean, California. My search history is a total mess. Oh, I might need to bring it up with my life coach.
Seriously? Get a flight. Bing bong. The Virgin Atlantic sale is now on. Visit virginatlantic.com and fly direct from London.
Rally on, Garth. Stocks look to pop again and could cap Wall Street's strongest week since June. Why the sudden interest in stocks when interest rates remain low? Major new developments in Hong Kong. Police getting more aggressive. One demonstration canceled, but others say they may defy the orders. It could be another hot weekend in Hong Kong. And betting on bonds. We are tracking some of the hottest investments you have probably never heard of. They may not be sexy, but they're making some investors a lot of money right now. It is Friday, August 30th, and you are watching Worldwide Exchange right here on CNBC. Morning, exactly 5:30. Welcome back, and thanks for being with us here on CNBC. I am Brian Sullivan. Here's how your money and investments look as we're halfway through the 5 a.m. hour in New York City. Keep in mind, last trading day of the month, and obviously, we are not open on Monday for the Labor Day holiday. So today could see some repositioning. Could be a big day for the stock market. Right now, it's looking good on the upside if you own stocks. Dow futures, they're up 172 right now. And if you have not been counting at home, I know the month of August overall has been pretty weak, but this week has been pretty good. In fact, we're on pace for our best weekly gain for the major averages all the way back since June, a couple of months ago. Not bad. Bonds, of course, also been the story. We're seeing a little bit of buying in bonds. Yields there, the 10-year 1.53%. And yes, we are still inverted by 1 basis point. All right, your big business story this week, this month, this year, trade. Pushing and pulling the market around on every set of tweets and headlines. The latest round of tariffs are set to go into effect this weekend. Eunice Yoon joining us now live from Beijing with more on the Chinese side, where we did have, at least it appeared, Eunice, yesterday, a little bit of an olive branch, maybe extending the U.S. trade representatives.
I don't know, Brian.
No?
I think it's all still up in the air. But I don't know. I didn't read it that way. But I think people are hopeful, which is always a good thing. And they are still talking, which is also...
That's the olive branch. If you can't extend something to somebody who's not there. It's Friday. I'm trying to find the positive.
Yeah, I know. But if you keep talking, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to end up with a trade deal that you want,
Yes,
right?
it does. I'm America's
But I guess it's better
17th most trusted news anchor. It's made that up.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. But today, I mean, this weekend you mentioned the tariffs. So in 2 days, the new tariffs are going to kick in. And on Sunday, a little bit after midnight Eastern Standard Time, $125 billion worth of Chinese goods are going to be hit with a 15% U.S. tariff. China's going to impose tariffs on its first tranche of $75 billion of U.S. goods. This is going to be in a range of 5 to 10%. It's about 1,700 items on the list, including agricultural products like soybeans. Now, China has been urging the U.S. to lift the tariffs. And today, the foreign ministry said that it hoped the U.S. would, quote, show its sincerity with real action, which is being interpreted to mean, please lift the tariffs. Now, the foreign ministry also said that the two sides of the trade teams are having effective communication, though no word on whether or not they got a response from the United States. But separate to that, another interesting story that Brian had brought up was the yuan, because the Chinese currency is now headed for its biggest monthly decline since 1994. And this is despite the fact that the central bank had set the yuan, the fix for the yuan, higher, stronger than most people expected for a fourth day in a row. And also, Brian, there's some signs now that the authorities here could have some trouble with the weaker renminbi. The Japanese newspaper, the Nikkei, has been reporting that regulators have started to put restrictions on certain banks for currency conversion to from the yuan to other currencies, and also that there have been reports of real estate developers having blocked access to foreign currency bonds. So that's the authorities here are in a delicate balancing act where they might want to have a weaker yuan for the exporters, but at the same time don't want to trigger capital flight like they did in 2015, 2016.
I have a feeling, Eunice, that the declination of the Chinese currency may indeed be one of the biggest stories of the year by the end of this year. Eunice Yoon in Beijing. By the way, Eunice, as we go into the break, you created a line. You're a legend in this building. You know why? It's when you said to me, every time I see your face, I laugh. Thousands.
It's true, though. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. It's not the way you look. You're very handsome.
Dig it out.
But it's just that every time I look at your face, I'm sorry. I just
Eunice,
want to laugh.
I think this was the greatest last appearance ever on Worldwide Exchange for you. Thank you very much. Eunice. Sending hugs across the Pacific, Eunice Yoon. We'll see you in a bit. Thank you very much. Who says trade can't be fun? Well, businesses, guess what? Because it's not just investors. Businesses large and small and medium on edge as the new round of tariffs kicks in. That is likely to mean higher prices for you, more uncertainty for businesses, and maybe more headwinds for growth. Joining us now to cover both sides of the story is Dr. Kirsten Braun, president of the Sten Group, a firm that works with companies and manufacturers looking to buy and ship goods overseas. Also with us, Bill Phelan. He is CEO of PayNet, a firm which tracks the financials of 30 million small businesses in North America. That's a lot, Bill. Thanks for joining us. So right now, Bill, what are small businesses seeing? What are they doing? And what are you advising them to do in the face of all this trade war uncertainty and sort of recession fear that's out there?
They're not seeing things that they like. I mean, the lights went off January 1st this year. I mean, we had boom times in 2018, and right now we see small businesses kind of hunker down, really. The numbers have not looked good. We saw a double-digit decrease last month in June, and that
in lending and borrowing.
In lending and borrowing.
14% drop in borrowing.
That's right, exactly. So 14% negative year over year, and that means that they just don't see the opportunity to buy more goods, put more people to work, make acquisitions, and they're just not confident right now. There's not confidence among the small.
Is there a way, Bill, to read that as, are they not confident because of the trade war, or are they not confident because we've had a 10-year expansion, and you know, business owners are smart, and they kind of know that eventually all good things must not come to an end, maybe, but roll over and slow down at some point.
Yeah, I mean, expansions don't die from old age, right? So we don't see that really as a driver. I mean, choose your poison today, right? There's enough things to cause small business to hunker down. There's certainly the trade issue. There's certainly uncertainties for a lot of businesses. And, you know, the confidence can evaporate so quickly for small companies. And that's really what we've seen. So the lights went out in January, and they really haven't come back on. They're kind of just, you know, putting a little bit of money to work, not really kind of going all in like they were in 2018. And that confidence can evaporate so quickly that we just think it's, you know, we've got to win that back with, I think, some policies and some trade capabilities for these small businesses.
Kirsten, you're on the front lines. I mean, your clients, your companies, they ship stuff around the world. They're right in the front of it. What are you advising these companies to do?
We're advising to invest now. It's very important.
Invest in what?
Investing in themselves and innovate. That's very important to keep up with China. The trade war is in place for two reasons. Because there's national security issues. We're worried about property, intellectual property, but also there is a big issue with China being so much ahead of the curve in terms of robots, AI technology, and we in
so
the
they're
US
not just
are falling
they're not just a low cost manufacturer.
Yes.
We can't look at them as a place where labor is cheaper and they can make T-shirts for the United States.
And we missed that. We have missed the evolution of China. They have invested so much in them. They're high quality, they're high technology, high tech, very innovative, and they are very good in precision developments. So now look at the car industry. The car industry is suffering across the globe, not only the US, also in Germany. Germany was the driver, the big developer of good cars. Now China is developing e-cars. Go into Shanghai and you have e-buses in the biggest city in China, Guangzhou. E-buses everywhere. Look at other big cities, the German capital. They have a pilot
You keep coming back to Germany for some reason. One would think that you might be German.
One would think.
Yeah,
Whoa,
guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen. Guten
So
Morgen,
let me ask you a difficult question. You are a German American. You're German by birth. You live in America. You deal with the world.
Yes.
Can America compete?
We're
in manufacturing?
falling behind, and that's an amazing question. What we see, and I travel the world, you're so great. Yes, it's Friday.
You're welcome back anytime, Dr.
It's
Braun.
Friday. We're falling behind. Look at what we're doing. E-cars, good example. Look at what is happening in the Silicon Valley. There is an erosion of talent. People go to the southern China, Shenzhen, Guangzhou. That's where is a lot of development happening. And we lose people here. We lose talent because it's more exciting and more creativity in other countries, especially in China.
And what I see, Brian, is, I mean, these small businesses are a great source of an economic engine for the economy. And what we find is that when this confidence erodes and when they're not borrowing money to invest, we find that they actually capital dries up, and we just got to figure out a way to keep that capital flowing.
So there's a huge misconception. You hear politicians on both parties, by the way, say this erroneous statement. They say that small business is the job creator in America. That's false. New businesses are the job creator in America, and new businesses by nature are inherently small. You don't start with 100 people.
That's right.
You start small. Are you seeing, Bill, new business creation? Because that's the real driver.
Yeah, that is exactly right, Brian, and it's a great point. And what we find is that business creation dried up and post-recession, and it has never really quite recovered. Partly because the capital's not there. The capital is not available for these startup companies, and the issue is we have to figure out a way to make that capital flow, and that's what we do for them.
Okay, Bill Phelan of PayNet and Dr. Kirsten Braun of Sten Group. Real good discussion, real-world impact on businesses. Thank you both very much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, it is not just falling rates. Your next guest says there is another factor contributing to the sudden surge in refinancings of homes. Not just rates, really? We're going to ask Mark Fleming about that. Plus, more battle lines being drawn in the fast food chicken war. Some dude wanted a sandwich, didn't get it, and now he's suing. It's a real story. It's from Tennessee. You gotta, I mean, if anything, just stay tuned for this story. This guy's a ding-dong. We're back after this.
Whatever you got on, baby, stay in it. You ain't got.
Do you have concerns about mild memory loss?
Moving from one rental home to another is so expensive.
Last time, we had to pay hundreds to move in, the first month's rent,
and then a big deposit.
With Romans, it doesn't have to be like this.
It doesn't.
At Romans, you really can move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent.
And that's it.
Nothing more to add. Move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent, with Romans.
No deposit.
No problem.
Romans, your trusted local property experts at romans.co.uk. Conditions and monthly fee apply.
Hemorrhoids. You talk to your GP, but you don't really get anywhere. Because the NHS has limited surgery for hemorrhoids, so you go on suffering in silence. Okay, maybe not so silent. It's time to speak to Xroid. They specialise in a new, fast, safe and effective procedure for hemorrhoids with no downtime. And the procedure takes just 30 minutes or less. Don't be one of the 8 million people in the UK suffering in almost silence. Get back to what you love doing. Xroid. Be kind to your behind. For free advice on hemorrhoids, text KIND to 81156.
A-levels are finally over, and now talk of university is on everyone's lips. Sound familiar? If you're still deciding, look no further. Because sometimes, like today, our vision is clouded about what's the right next step. So this morning, why not check out the placement degrees at the Uni of Bedfordshire and see how you can make the most of their incredible industry standard facilities. Find out more and apply now at beds.ac.uk/clearing. University of Bedfordshire. Graduate as a professional.
Live big and spend less on the brands you adore. And dine by the waterside. Who could want more? Lap up the savings as much as the view with Ted Baker, Hackett, Nike and Coach too. Lock Fine and Five Guys make it a date. You can shop, meet and eat every weekday till late. So sit back, unwind and let style lead the way. And give yourself a different day at Gunwharf Quays. Waterfront outlet shopping.
Well, it's not just here. Interest rates around the world continue to come down, and mortgage rates are no exception. Should we be braced for a big boom, though, in the housing market? Joining us now, Mark Fleming, chief economist at First American. And Mark, did you hear my tease going into the break?
I did.
It's not just rates? Come on. What is it that's maybe creating this boom in refi?
Well, it's what the rate you have on your home now versus the prevailing rate. And because rates, basically, there's a big difference. There's about 7 or 8 million homeowners who already have rates below 4.5% or 4%. So if you have a rate that's at 3.9, a lot of people are saying, hey, that's not low enough. How low does it have to go to really incent that ability to refinance?
How low does it have to go to really incent? I mean, answer your own sort of point, Mark. I mean, if you're not incented at 3.6 or 3.5, whatever you can get right now with good credit, what is somebody going to be incented by?
Well, 3.4 was the low point back in 2016. So it's, quite possible, we have at points this month flirted with that very, very low level. But every time we get down to that low level, everybody who's in the money goes and refinances. So each time you sort of flirt with it, it gets harder and harder because there are fewer and fewer who are still going to benefit. Can we go below 3.4? Maybe then we'd see it. But it's one of those things. The other thing is, what luckily is everyone has tons of housing equity. So it's not just about rates, to your tease earlier. It's also about having the equity in your home. And it's some combination of those two that would really drive a surge in refinance.
Well, listen, we have been here before, and I'm not going to compare anything now to 10 or 12 years ago, Mark, but are you seeing a lot of people? Refining is one thing. Refining and taking out $200,000 of home equity to buy a boat is a different thing. Are we seeing people be more responsible now?
That's hard to say. I mean, yes, we do see cash out equity being used to drive sort of home improvement. One of the most obvious things you would do is take some of that money out instead of moving, because we talk about home sales being relatively muted on this show with you. Instead of moving, they'll take that equity and they'll use it to renovate. Not a lot on the necessarily on the buying boats and cars. That might be an issue with the fact that if you're worrying about a potential recession in a couple of years, you're not going to do that.
Mark Fleming, First American. Wow, rates 3.4, 3.5. I mean, it's an unbelievable story. Mark, we appreciate it. Have a great long weekend. I'm sure you'll be busy in the housing market. It's a good one.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Let's find out what else you're going to do today besides these low rates. It is time for your top trending stories. Frank, my stories got me all worked up.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
I think as a pop culture society, we've reached a new low with that. We're going to finish up with that. Let's start off with Walmart. They're opening up a new health clinic in Georgia called, what else? Walmart Health. The clinic will offer hearing tests, 60-minute counseling sessions, and vision tests. The new clinic is in a separate building right next door to give patients more privacy. This will be Walmart's first foray into offering mental health services, and the retail giant could expand this concept if the Georgia location is successful. So if lacing your sneakers is just too much hassle, well, Nike has you covered. The new Nike Adapt Huarache sneakers, they're self-lacing. And when you pair them with an iPhone, you can even ask Siri to lace them and unlace them. The app also allows people to change the colors of the LED lights along the sneaker's sole. And an update in the chicken wars, we know you want it. This time it's a customer facing off with Popeyes. A man in Tennessee has filed a civil lawsuit against Popeyes for false advertising and deceptive business practices. He cited multiple trips to the restaurant only to be told they were actually sold out of that new chicken sandwich. This man is actually seeking $5,000 in damages.
Okay, $5,000 in damages. The guy wants a sandwich. He's suing, so we're talking about. That's why we sort of said you're wasting time. Just get sandwiches if that's what you want. Don't sue for money. But from what I understand on the story. There was apparently a Craigslist ad. One of the workers suggested that they were stashing sandwiches, and if you came in on the sly, paid them a little more cash, they would get it.
Did you hear what you just said? They're stashing chicken sandwiches. Chicken is abundant in this.
No, they were hoarding chicken.
There's plenty of it.
No,
I know this sandwich is supposedly special, but they have a chicken sandwich almost everywhere, and you have to pay extra to buy a fast food sandwich. It sounds insane.
No, but it does. That's the point. And now the guy is suing. People are. Look,
you can't even get the sentence out. It's ridiculous. It's just a sandwich. Next month
he should sue, if he's going to sue, for a sandwich.
What are the damages here?
That's my point. You're supposed to get, what do you want? You're injured. He's claiming injury due to no sandwich, so if he wins, get a sandwich. Case closed.
$5,000 in sandwiches. Boom.
Court is over.
Judge Sullivan is ruling.
Oh, I wouldn't watch that. Thank you, Frank. All right. On deck, an update, an important one on Hong Kong. New developments overnight that could make for a very hot and charged and potentially dangerous weekend there. Plus, as a wild August comes to an end, will investors be facing even more uncertainty or will things cool off? A pair of experts to tell you where to look for opportunities coming up next. And then, betting big on bonds. We're going to break down some of the unbelievable returns of some funds you've probably never, ever heard about. Stuff you're only getting here on Worldwide Exchange. We're back right after this.
Moving from one rental home to another is so expensive.
Last time, we had to pay hundreds to move in, the first month's rent,
and then a big deposit.
With Romans, it doesn't have to be like this.
It doesn't.
At Romans, you really can move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent.
And that's it.
Nothing more to add. Move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent. With Romans.
No deposit.
No problem.
Romans, your trusted local property experts at romans.co.uk. Conditions and monthly fee apply.
Hemorrhoids. You talk to your GP, but you don't really get anywhere. Because the NHS has limited surgery for hemorrhoids, so you go on suffering in silence. Okay, maybe not so silent. It's time to speak to Xroid. They specialise in a new, fast, safe and effective procedure for hemorrhoids with no downtime. And the procedure takes just 30 minutes or less. Don't be one of the 8 million people in the UK suffering in almost silence. Get back to what you love doing. Xroid. Be kind to your behind. For free advice on hemorrhoids, text KIND to 81156.
Where's the smart money going for September? Investor strategy and what to watch. Squawk Box, 6 a.m. Eastern.
Should you be selling stocks or selling bonds right now?
If you don't have a financial plan, this could be a call to action to go get yourself a plan. If you're feeling nervous, how about raising cash?
I think a lot of people who prune their portfolios at times like this, they forget to look at the tax consequences.
If you're able to tap liquidity from qualified or retirement accounts, then that's a place to go look so you don't realize capital gains on the sale of your assets.
Biggest thing people should not do?
Panic.
Panic, all right.
All right, time for your executive recap. All the headlines you need in about 60 seconds. Multiple leaders of the Hong Kong protests have been arrested. It is a clear sign of escalation in the showdown between the People's Liberation Army and pro-democracy demonstrators. One Saturday rally has been officially canceled, but it is unclear whether we're going to see more violence this weekend because some protesters say they're going to go forward anyway. Remember, there have been millions of people in the streets at some times. After a Blockbuster report detailing how Amazon has lost some control of its platform, selling unsafe, banned, or even counterfeit goods, a number of U.S. senators have taken notice. 3 Democrats wrote to CEO Jeff Bezos demanding information and an investigation into what is being sold on the site. And the story that just keeps going. Saudi Aramco is now considering a plan to split what would be the world's largest IPO into 2 separate stages. It's according to the Wall Street Journal that offers some shares on the Saudi exchange, the Tadawul, and then an international offering maybe in Tokyo or Hong Kong in 2020 or 2021. All right, now let's help you make some money and find some new ideas on a Friday. By now you know that interest rates have collapsed. But as rates go down, it means other things, like bond prices have gone up. And a lot of what they call boring investments have been pretty sexy lately. Look at the returns on these bond-based ETFs. Remember, these are just for August. The ProShares Ultra 20-plus year Treasury, the ticker UBT, is up 25% this month. It's acting like a penny stock. The PIMCO 25-plus year zero coupon US, Zeros is the ticker, up 20%. The EDV, Vanguard, the TLT, which you know, and the Spider long-term Treasury ETF, TLO, all up more than 10%. And if you are one of the few people out there who saw this coming, even though all of you will say that you did, of course, and you had the confidence and the mojo to triple down on this move in rates, the Direction 3 times Bond Bull ETF is up 38% this month. These are bond funds, monthly returns. Stock futures up 174 right now. Joining us is Jeff Sott, market strategist at Capital Wealth Planning, Patrick Chovanec, chief strategist at Silvercrest Asset Management. Jeff, first off, I hope you guys are safe. I know you're down there in Florida, so just after this hit, leave. Here's the thing. If I would have told you a month ago that we would have these kinds of returns for the bond market and bond funds, you probably would have laughed openly on the air. What do you make of it? Is it sustainable, or are we going to see a rotation back into equities?
I think it's probably sustainable in the short run due to demographics. I did not see it coming, Brian. I would point out that this is not your father's typical inverted yield curve. Typically, the Fed pushes up short rates over long rates. What's happening right now is international capital flows are pushing long rates down below short rates. I talked to insurance companies in Europe, and they've got basically nowhere else to go but here. So they're buying our interest rate complex, and that's what's giving the inverted yield curve. So I think it's a mistake to interpret this as a recession sign.
Patrick, how is this going to end? Is it just going to end with the bond market sort of staying where it is, fizzling out, or having some sort of violent rollback over?
Well, right now the interesting thing is that everybody's going, you've seen this sentiment shift towards recession fear. The problem is that, yes, if you invested in bonds, you're getting this big boost, but the return that you're getting is very small because people are paying a premium for safe harbors right now. And ironically, come what may, even if you're concerned about recession risk, the reality is that being exposed to equity risk will pay long-term returns. The equity risk premium is wider than it's been. It's been pretty wide throughout the entire the recovery, but it's wider than it's been for a long time. And that actually means that you're being rewarded for risk, and seeking the safe harbor is very, very expensive.
But I guess, you said safe harbor now twice, Patrick. So I guess with these kinds of moves, the point we just, showed our viewers is are bonds a safe harbor with those kinds of gains in that period of time?
Well, I mean, the view is that bonds will display less volatility, and that's why people go to them. That's why people around the world are even willing to accept negative rates in many cases, because they feel that they'll be insulated from whatever